Welcome to Job Tales, the show where I interview people from all over the world about their professions. Through my podcast, I wish to inspire you by giving an overview of the many job options for you out there. Today, we're diving into the world of Jacquie Leavy, who turned her passion for gardening and working outdoors into a career as a paysagiste, which is the French word for landscape gardener. If you like to work outdoors and have a good sense of entrepreneurship, this job may be for you. Jacquie Leavy, thank you for being a guest on my podcast.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for having me.
Hi. So in French, it's a very nice word. It's paysagiste. In English, like the closest translation would be landscape gardener.
That's right, yeah.
Right. So it's fascinating. It's definitely a non-computer job, like an outdoor job. It's a bit of a dream of a lot of listeners out there. And can you tell me about your job? What do you do?
We cover three main areas. We cover normal garden maintenance, day-to-day maintenance, mowing lawns, weeding beds, etc., etc. We cover what we call garden creation, which is perhaps building a deck, planting some new beds, planting some trees. It's kind of changing the garden, as it were, to enhancing it. And then another aspect is also garden design work as well.
And then design. Okay, so there's a difference, between the creation and design.
And design as well, yeah.
What is the design of a garden?
Somebody might call me, it could be something simple like saying, I just want a new bed in my garden, a new planted bed with nice flowers, etc. So I design a bed. Or somebody may say, right, I really want to change the whole garden. I've had enough of it. And then you have to talk to the client. You have to really understand their needs. And you draw up plans in general. If it's complicated, the client needs to see what the garden will look like, sometimes in 3D to get a really good perspective.
I was going to ask, actually. Yeah, so there is a bit of computer
Oh,
work.
yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
There definitely is, yeah. Still.
Still, yeah, we cannot do without, right? What would you say is the most appealing thing in your job?
Appealing part of my job? Well, I have my own business, so I'm not employed by anybody. So I'm independent. That's the main thing. And because I'm in my own business, because I'm the one that decides, etc., there's an awful lot of diversity in what I do. I can be out in the field working in the gardens. I can be talking with clients about their needs. I could be drawing up plans. There's a lot of diversity, and I love that.
Fascinating, because I wonder how you start a job like this. Like, is there an opportunity arising? Does it come from an early childhood passion? No, is it opportunistic in that sense, or maybe family related? How do you start?
Yeah, in my case, it was definitely a passion. I grew up loving gardening. The first part of my career, I was in IT, something completely different.
Right.
But from a child, I used to dig over my father's vegetable patch and what have you. So I just loved everything to do with the outdoor spaces, gardening, getting my hands dirty, I guess.
All right, in the real sense.
And so it's basically after 15 years in IT, I just thought maybe it's time for a change. So I didn't stop working. I took on a distance learning course, an RHS, Royal Horticultural Society course in gardening. So I learned all the theory basically.
Okay.
And then after I finished that course, got my certificate, I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a go. So I gave up my IT post, very much supported by my husband, who took on the financial burden, you might say, while I did that.
Okay.
And initially I was on unemployment, the chômage, as they say.
Yeah.
And through them, they helped me. They were very good. Frankly, they were very good because initially you'd say that they wanted me to go right back into an IT job. But I said, no, I've done this course. I really want to switch careers. So they assigned me a consultant who was more in the area that I wanted to go into. And he said, right, I'll help you write your CV and I'll help you write a request for employment letter. And so basically I was asking for experience, unpaid experience.
Okay.
Um, and I sent out so many emails, you wouldn't believe, and I got one answer, one.
No way. Okay.
Uh,
To whom were
and
you writing?
to two various landscaping firms around Geneva.
Oh, okay.
So I got an answer, one. He said, come along for an interview. So I did. And straight away we saw each other. We knew each other. He was a member of my squash club.
Okay.
And so we hit it off straight away because I'd already played him squash and what have you. And he said, okay, why not? So I joined that company. And
Oh, okay.
I had my work experience, so I had my theory a little bit, you might say, and then I had my work experience as an internship, I guess you call it,
Hmm.
with him.
Okay. When you say theory, what do you learn theoretically about gardening?
In gardening, oof, you learn everything to do with planting practice, various species. You have to learn, obviously, all the
Mm.
different plants, of which there are many.
Yes.
um, the effects of climate, it's not really practical experience,
Mm.
classification of plants, the stuff that we learn in biology at school, basically.
Right. Okay.
I found that much of what I learned in biology, I had to relearn, as it were.
Mm. It was helpful
So
though.
it's
Yeah.
very interesting. It's very interesting. Everything to do with greenhouses, and it's ornamental. It's also the vegetable patch, you might say, and what have you.
Okay. Is there like a minimal requirement in terms of certificates or theory that you're asked if you apply at a
No, through the
company?
RHS, they don't ask for any previous qualifications.
Okay.
So there was no problem. I enrolled on the course. It was done at distance. I was sent my assignments, and I just had to go over to the UK for my final exams.
When you apply for a job at a company, like a landscape
Hmm.
company, do they ask for a certificate of any kind?
Okay, in my case, I asked for work experience. So I was prepared to work for free, but actually, because I was on an unemployment benefit through the
Mm.
chômage in Geneva, I actually received a salary through the chômage, but I was actually having employment experience. For somebody who wants salaried employment, it definitely helps to have the relevant qualifications,
Qualification.
to have what they call a CFC here
Mm.
in Geneva, which
Okay.
is that you've passed three to 4 years as an apprentice with final
Mm.
exams. They tend to look for that. Gardening firms look for that if they want somebody that's more experienced, that they can send to a client who's fairly autonomous, who can look around him and look around and see what needs doing in the garden. There's also what they call the aide jardinier, which is somebody who's a gardener who may not have qualifications of any kind, but who is there to help the
Mm.
main gardener, as it were, who will have qualifications.
Yeah. Okay. You said that you were, yeah, doing IT. So do you think that your previous job and experience has helped in your present job?
Definitely. A lot of what I do now is office work because I run my own company.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
all those computing skills, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they all help.
Mm.
Learning new applications for in garden design, that helps as well. You're comfortable in the computing environment. Also, I think client relationship has helped because what I did once I was in IT in the later years was often a lot of analytical work, talking to the client and going back. So there was a lot of
Mm.
client
For the
relationship involved.
relationship. Yeah, yeah, which is always a very key. And any, let's say, soft skills and hard skills that you would mention as being, key in your job.
Okay, I think there's two aspects. I think there's the days I'm in the garden, and then there's the office work
Mm.
behind it. And so I suppose the days in the garden, you need to be observant. I think you
Yeah.
have to go there and you have to look around you. That's something in IT I never really needed to use as a skill. It was something that I really learned once I changed career is simply to observe. It's
Oh,
around you,
interesting.
nature, the way things grow, the change in the seasons, to learn from that experience. And I like that. I like that.
Mm.
I like to see
Which
these
is
constant
which
changes.
could be applied on your previous job, like or any job in truth. Yeah, maybe we don't do enough observing
It's
in
true,
our
yes,
jobs.
observancy can, yeah, even if it's just people or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think in the gardening world, it's particularly important because you're
Mm.
really looking at nature and you have to look at the environment around you. And I think to do the job well, you need to do that. After that, it's important to be efficient when you're out in the field. You know, you can't, it's not like somebody working in their garden on a Sunday afternoon, taking their
Okay.
time, pottering around. You have to get on with the job and you have to do it as efficiently as possible.
Mm.
Concentrate on what you're doing. And sometimes that's not easy at the end of the day. You're tired, the weather's bad. It's not always easy.
Mm. Yeah, I
um,
understand.
and then after that, then there's once you're back at the office running a company, you have to be motivated. You have
Mm.
to really believe in what you're doing. You have to be organized. You have to manage your time very well. But another aspect of being in the field as well is problem solving. Sometimes you're faced with a situation. I don't know, during a garden project creation, you come across some pipe work underground, and suddenly you kind of it poses
Oh.
difficulties. You have to solve problems, look for solutions
Mm.
all the time. Otherwise, what I find hard in the field is sometimes simply being physically tired. You know, sometimes you have to even work when you're ill. As somebody who's self-employed, it's not really like somebody who's on a salary who says,
Oh,
"Oh, I've
yeah.
got a bit of a cold today. I think I'll call in sick." It's not that simple. I've worked with flu, topped up on paracetamol, and you just have to carry on. You know.
Yeah.
What I dislike most as far as working in the office, work as an employer, I'm not too keen on doing estimates and billing. It's just something I don't like, but you have to do.
You would rather stick on the creative part of your job
Yeah, I do
and the
like the
organization.
creation side of it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I actually like accounting, funny enough.
Oh, right?
You know,
Okay.
yeah. It's something I learned on the job. You know, no courses or anything like that, but you have to keep your books. And
Mm.
I kind of like maybe it's going back to my computing IT background, but I kind of like the beauty of accounting. So that I don't mind, but
Okay.
billing and what have you, I really don't like.
Is there a lesson you've learned during your years doing this job that others can, benefit from?
I think you really always, because again, as a self employed person who's out in the field, back at the office, you have to be organized. There are times where it's very, 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 very busy. The spring, for example, you know,
Mm.
the first few days in February that are sunny, you get bombarded with calls
Oh,
because
really?
everybody
Okay.
goes out, they look at the garden, and they think, "Oh no, I must do something this year," and you get a lot of calls at that time, and you've got to really put in the hours.
Mm.
So you have to be organized and you have to stay on top of the workload. Otherwise, it can consume you a little bit. And you know, if you're overworked, you kind of start running around in circles and get nothing done.
Mm, I see.
So I
Okay.
believe in keeping lists, and I'm always ticking off my to-do lists. So that I think that is a lesson that I've gradually learned over the years.
Yeah. Does it mean that you also stick to like a certain number of clients and not more, just to, to not be overwhelmed, for example? Or is a space for new customers, or do you also, draw a line as to how many clients you can have in order to keep efficiency and
I try not to. I do, for example, in spring, I answer all the calls. I go to all the first visits. Then, depending on what is required, I may say, "Look, this might have to wait until the summer." It's a first come first serve basis as well. So some clients say, "Oh no, I can't wait to summer," which is a little frustrating. But that's the way it is. And
Hmm.
so there is an element after so many calls, and also having to understand who is serious and who isn't. That's something I've acquired over the years as well, is to kind of read a little bit the
Uh-huh.
situation, who is really serious and who isn't about.
I see. Okay.
Um, so yes, I do lose some work simply because we don't have time to do it in the time frame they want.
Or I see. Okay. The IT part and let's say the new technology part, is it taking more space over the years in the gardening world, or how do you see it
Ecology,
happening?
sorry.
No, the IT side and the new technology side. Imagine like virtual
Oh,
reality, artificial intelligence. Is it something that's going to
yes.
become more important?
It has. It has. In the field, technologies is has worked. I'm very content, happy with it. We have now a lot of electric equipment that we use when we're
Uh
working,
huh.
which is much cleaner, quieter, more reliable. Actually, there's less can break down. So we have like everything's electric. It's cleaner. Before I used to feel like you're running a machine and it's right next to you. That's a two-stroke engine, and you think, oh crikey, this is dirty, etc. But so technology and with electricity has definitely helped enormously on the work, outside gardens, what have you.
Mm.
I actually quite like robot lawn mowers. On the face of it, they seem like competition, but I think they're good. They're good for lawns already, if you like that kind of thing, and it gives us time to do other things at the
Uh
client
huh.
as well. So
Right. Saves you
I,
time.
for me, they work. They're not the competition that you'd imagine. Then back in the office, design apps are better and better.
Mm-hmm.
So producing 3D drawings of the garden is easier and easier. You can go out in the field, take a 3D photo and adapt it.
Oh, I
Um,
see. Okay.
so it's becoming more and more powerful. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, there's AI. If there's questions I want to ask, I use AI all the time.
Oh, interesting. Like for
For
example.
it could be anything from my French is pretty okay now, but it could be translating to
Okay.
send a quote to a client for whatever. It could be simple translation. It could be something in the business. For example, oh crikey, what can I plant with this oleander? And
Uh-huh.
I could try and rack my brains, or I can say, ask ChatGPT, and it'll come up with a list, and I'll go through the list. And I'll say, yes, that could work.
Ah, amazing, amazing.
There's
Okay.
there's elements of that just to speed up the process, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
What are you most proud of?
I think the fact that because when you start up a gardening business, the chances of success are, well, not slim, but they're quite statistically not great.
Mm.
So, starting something up in my early 40s as a woman, as a foreigner, and
Was a
making a success
challenge.
of it, and now having a business with employees for the last
Amazing.
15 years, I'm quite proud of that.
Fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations. So yeah, it does take. So yeah, talking about challenging and so forth. Like, what kept you going? Like, say, have you had some moments of doubt, or because it's not been easy, if I understand correctly, and you need to believe in it, right? How could you keep going?
What keeps me going? I think a little bit of a break in the winter, so between seasons on that helps a lot. It remotivates you for the next season because by Christmas we're pretty tired, huh?
Mm.
So we tend to take longer holidays in the winter, just
Yeah.
just
Okay.
to recuperate. So that helps a lot. I
Hmm.
may be slightly demotivated at the end, around Christmas time, and then I'm raring to go again by spring. Otherwise, there was a period when through the business was very busy. It does take a lot of hours. You have a long working day, and then sometimes you have to do the hours in the evening as well. And then through a divorce as well, that was a period that was quite difficult,
Mm.
of about 3 or 4 years. So, but
Okay.
otherwise, it's been okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you would recommend it as a job?
As a job, yes, I would. If you don't mind, it is physically hard. If you like that, if you don't mind a little what they call endurance,
Hmm.
uh, working in all weathers, then it's good. It's not anything I regret at all.
Okay.
I really have enjoyed. the time that I've done doing it, but you have to be physically able for it if you are out in the garden. If you're
Okay.
running the business, then you can afford to step back, which I'm beginning to do now.
Okay. But
So I'm
initially
out in the
yeah.
garden less and
Okay.
concentrating on running the business
With
in the weekday and not having to work weekends.
okay, which is also another perk of growing your business. And
That's right, yeah.
if you go back in time, if you could go back in time, what would you do different if you could go back in time?
To be honest, I don't think anything. I think it was great to change careers. It really sort of like rejuvenates you for the next half of your working life. I don't really regret anything.
Okay, that's awesome. If there's
It
no
could there could be just the odd little job that that, but nothing I can even remember. The at a particular client, things didn't go so well. They took a bit longer, but off the top of my head, I can't even remember what they are. They seem to bother you at the time,
at
but
the time, yeah.
yes, but
But
then
then in the
afterwards,
big
no.
picture, then in the end, it was all
The
good.
big picture
Yeah.
is no regrets. Yeah.
It's not regret, which is great because you can you're the living example that you can change career anytime, and then nothing is really set in stone until you decide so, right? So when you decided you wanted to change, and also thanks to chômage, being unemployed for a while, it allowed you to reconvert and having
Oh,
the
oh
support
yeah.
of family.
The chômage was absolutely brilliant.
No.
Really did allow me to reconvert
Mm,
because, first of all, I used it when we arrived in Switzerland 30 years ago now. I used it because I didn't have a work permit. My husband was
mm,
working and I really wanted to find a job. I'm not a stay-at-home mum. And I went along to the chômage and I said, well, I'm looking for a job. And they said, well, sorry, but you just arrived. You're not entitled to any benefits.
yeah.
And I said, no, it's not benefits I'm looking for. I want to do a French course
Okay.
to find a job. And I think they've closed that loophole now, actually, but they couldn't
Oh.
find a way of refusing me at the time.
Ah.
So
Okay.
it's a 6-week French course, entirely paid for by the state. And it was intensive. You couldn't not go. You had to have a very good reason not for turning up.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I made friends there, and not a word of English was spoken because it was multinational. So the teacher only ever spoke in French. I only had school French, which was obviously pretty bad. And I really, really took off with that. It was really,
Oh,
really great. It
amazing.
was great for confidence and communication. And very quickly afterwards, I found a job in IT. And then the second time, the chômage, which was very important to me indeed, after I left IT and I was looking for work experience in gardening and eventually to set up my own business in gardening, I knew that was probably the best way forward. Again, through the chômage, I did starting up a business course. And that was invaluable. It taught me
Mhm.
all the ins and outs of setting up your business, everything to do with it, being aware of the advantages and disadvantages of being your own boss,
Yeah. Fantastic.
the
Yeah. No,
accounting
it's
side of it a little bit, everything to do with it. It was absolutely brilliant.
yeah. I'm glad
Mhm.
that the system works. And but I wanna end it here because we have gone a bit past the time. But I want to
Oh,
thank you very much, Jackie, for
okay.
your for your tale. It's very inspiring, and I hope that one day I can call you up and ask you for advice for my garden one day.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Okay. All right
Take
then.
care.
Bye
Good
bye. Bye,
luck.
Laura. Bye.
And that was Jacquie Leavy, landscape gardener. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget you can catch more on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. I'm always on the lookout for inspiring guests, so if you have any ideas, or if you're the one, drop me a line at jobtalespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Job Tales.